Peekaboo, I see you. Guess who's back? Uh-oh!
Meow.
So if you're camp free, coming out, you're gonna hear a story. If you're awake, that is. So is everybody having a fun day so far?
Oh, yeah.
Good. Good. So if you're in camp free and you're awake, you should come out if you want to hear a story. I'm talking to Key and Jasmine over there. This is a book some of you probably heard me read at camp before. Some of you probably have not. Depends when you've had me for camp time before, cabin time, depending if it's summer or winter camp. But it's a favorite book of mine to read at camp. And I generally like to read this at least once every camp. For those of you who've been in my class, welcome. I hope you're having fun with your first one, kidder. For those of you who've been in my class and those of you who've heard me read before know I like the Berenstain Bears books. I have a bunch of them. And I have one that's specifically about going to camp. In fact, it's called The Berenstain Bears Go to Camp. It's a little different than our camp, but there's also a lot of similarities too, as you'll see. It's a fun little story about two little cubs going to their first ever camp. So if you're having trouble with the pages rising, you can either just listen or you can zoom in, lower your draw distance, etc., etc. Just try not to click the book. This is The Berenstain Bears Go to Camp by Stan and Jan Berenstain. So, they're just heading out of the Bear Country School. It was the last day of school and the beginning of vacation, that wonderful time when little bears could sit around doing absolutely nothing. Brother Bear and Sister Bear shouted goodbye to Teacher Jane and hopped onto the bus for the happy trip home. "Well," asked Mama Bear after a day or so of vacation, "are you enjoying sitting around doing nothing?" "It's great," said Brother. "Absolutely," said Sister, said Brother. "There's just one trouble with it," added Sister. "There's nothing to do." "Here, take a look at this," said Mama as she reached for something that had come in the mail. This is what it looked like. "Tired of sitting around doing absolutely nothing? Come to Grizzly Bob's Day Camp, summer fun for cubs of all ages." Now that's the kind of worms you should be eating. They got swimming, canoeing, arts and crafts, sports and games, nature study, and it's fully supervised by Counselor Bob. And don't forget the exciting overnight campfire powwow and sleep out. Some of the things looked interesting, but Brother wondered what fully supervised meant, and Sister wasn't so sure about that overnight sleep out. It sounded a little scary. "Where is this camp?" asked Sister. "Not far," answered Mama. "How will we get there?" Brother wanted to know. A bus comes for you in the morning and brings you home in the afternoon." "Sounds a little like school," said Brother. "We'll think about it," said the cubs, and went back to doing nothing. Well, not exactly nothing. They picked a few wildflowers. They waited for pages to res, chased a few butterflies, turned over a few rocks, and thought about it. "Mama, could we try Grizzly Bob's Day Camp just to see if we like it?" they asked. "Of course," said Mama. A couple of mornings later, Brother and Sister were in camp shirts and t-shirts, all ready and waiting when the bus came. Didn't look much like the school bus, though. And Grizzly Bob didn't look much like Teacher Jane, which I'd hope. And the camp didn't look anything like school. Take care, Monkey Man. Grizzly Bob had built his camp beside a lake at the edge of the forest. There were log buildings, a flagpole flying the camp flag, a big bulletin board with the camp rules. There certainly were a lot of rules. Some interesting paths, a roped-in place to swim. There was even a big red canoe. You'll see a big giant sign with a whole lot of rules on it in a moment. Bob had made name tags for the cubs. "You're campmates now, so you'd better get to know each other," he said. Then he took them on a tour of the camp. There was an office with a desk where he did his paperwork, and a first aid corner full of bandages and things for cuts and bruises. There was a rec hall to go into when it rained. Rec was short for recreation. There was a picnic place and a barbecue pit where they roasted hot dogs for lunch. Sister burnt hers a little. but she traded with another cub who liked burnt hot dogs. I don't know about you kids, but
Ew.
yeah, I never eat a hot dog that jarred. I like them cooked, but I don't like them crispy.
I like them burnt.
I don't mind them burnt like a little bit, but not like charcoal, which that one kind of looks like. Bob announced that after lunch they would all climb up Spook Hill to the very top of Skull Rock, the special place where they would have their end of camp powwow and sleep out. It was quite a climb. That evening, Mama and Papa Bear were eager to know how the cubs liked camp. It was okay, said Brother, but they sure have a lot of rules. It was all right, agreed Sister. They sure have plenty of bandages and stingy stuff for cuts. But what they were both thinking about was Skull Rock and that end of camp sleep out, especially Sister. Yeah, she can't even sleep at night because of it. But that's one of the big differences between their camp and ours is they don't sleep at camp, they go home at night. But sleepaway camps are fun. But day camps can be fun too. The second day was different. Brother had a great day. He passed the swimming test and was allowed to ride in the canoe. Sister didn't have such a good day though. She played dodgeball and some of the cubs threw pretty hard. The third day though, Sister had fun. She got a star for the birch picture frame she made in arts and crafts, but Brother hurt his knee in the wheelbarrow race. The fourth day, both of them had fun. And every day after that, so much fun that they forgot about Skull Rock and the sleep out. Almost. So what did they do? They went swimming, played soccer, football, they went canoeing, they did some bird watching, they did some pottery, more dodgeball, and some fishing. Looks fun. And for some reason they all lined up and stared at a flagpole. That's what I'm thinking, Rachel, but I'm not 100% sure. Papa found the sleeping bags that he and Mama had used on their honeymoon, and when the camp bus came on the morning of the big night, Brother and Sister were ready. Sort of. The climb up Spook Hill wasn't so hard this time, even with backpacks. The cubs were strong and tough from their summer of camping. Tomorrow would be field day, the last day of camp, when their parents would come to watch their games and contests and see awards given out. But for now, all the cubs could think about was their big sleep out. It was just beginning to get dark when they reached Skull Rock. It would be fun, wouldn't it? Grizzly Bob built a campfire, then he went into a small cave, and when he came out he was dressed in a beautiful Indian costume. Then the cubs sat in a semicircle and the powwow began. Bob told them old Indian legends of the great animal spirits, the story of the great grizzly as big as a mountain, the soaring eagle who filled the sky, and the mighty salmon whose colors made the rainbow. As Bob told the old stories, the cubs could almost see the wonderful creatures in the firelit smoke as it curled up into the night sky. After the powwow, they had cocoa and honey bread. Then they curled up in their sleeping bags, and soon they were all fast asleep. Even Sister. The next day, Brother and Sister did very well in the field day games and contests. Brother won a trophy for finishing second in the dash, and Sister got medals for the Dead Bears float and for her bead belt. It was almost the end of summer. School would be starting in a couple of weeks. Well, asked Papa, how did you like camp? It was great, said Brother, hugging his trophy. It was great, agreed Sister, wearing her medals proudly. But you know something? After Grizzly Bob's day camp, school will be like a vacation. So I hope you all have fun at camp this week as much as they did. Try to do as much as you can, because there's going to be a lot going on. And if you didn't get a chance to participate in the competitions earlier, and you're on later, you'll probably get a chance to. I won't know how many divers will be allowed, to depend how many are there for each camp, but if you didn't get to earlier, yeah, we'll make sure you do. We'll make sure you're there tonight, Jasmine. In the woods? Not in your bunk? I don't know if it's my favorite or not, but it's one of them. I have so many of them I haven't read though, and I really like the one about when they did the Nutcracker. Bike lesson sounds like it'd be fun too. Yeah, he is always missing. Somebody needs to give him a map or like a GPS or something. I'm gonna be looking for him later.
Hi!
When you guys are having free time. So we got about another 10 minutes. So what are you all looking forward to? Since we still got most of camp ahead of us. Yeah. I can see that with him, Randy. There are definitely some. I know there are definitely some crafts scheduled at different times. Well, if it's a craft or something like that, Jasmine, you can ask the counselor who ran it if they can give you a copy. I might be doing the skydiving again at some point, so watch for it. I'm not sure when yet, but you've still gotten to a lot, though. It'll be impossible to get to everything. Also, if anyone's curious, dinner tonight is tacos.